I'll go tally the votes. I need you to bring me your torch. This is where we learn who is the ultimate survivor. I'll read the votes.
I'm still not over that intro. I love it so much. Ollie, Phil, thank you both for being here. Today, we've got something really special for all of you. We are going to be talking about rivalries in past seasons of Survivor. We are also going to be reviewing this most recent episode, and we've got a really special guest joining us today, Josh Wilder. We're going to speak to him in just a second from Survivor 44. Phil, I have to start with you. I saw that you were on Survivor Social this past week. What's your gripe with the non-HD seasons?
Look, I'm just a new age guy, Matthew. What can I say? Yeah.
I guess we all have our preferences.
I say this as I'm watching Pearl Island right now. I don't mind it.
Seriously, I was talking to in reality, I was talking to David. I feel like for some reason it becomes like it becomes a little bit of a bigger slog to get through. But no hate. It's where Survivor started. I love it, but I definitely prefer my HD.
I mean, listen, the visuals of being in Fiji is just so gorgeous. And we have someone here who experienced it firsthand. Let us welcome Josh Wilder from Survivor 44. Hi, Josh.
Hey, guys. How are you? This is awesome. Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to talk to you today, especially. I mean, first thing I have to ask, did you see Claire was on our show last weekend?
I did see Claire. I love her so much. I miss her.
Yeah, we had so much fun with her. We did that thing where we sparked or snuffed the outfits from Survivor 44, the Castaway outfits. Go check that out if you didn't already see that video for anyone who's watching. But I have to know, Josh, do you have a favorite Castaway Island outfit from this season?
Listen, I do love Sean's outfits. They're so bright and colorful, and the sweater I'm living for. Also, I love Sabaya's. I love her look, especially because when she wears her buff, it imitates Bryce, and I love Bryce and how he wore it. So I'm loving those two outfit choices so far. Also, see, I have more than one. You can't just ask that question now, Matthew. See, I love Fufu's outfit too. The leopard print, living. But I digress.
It's so good. I love that you brought up Bryce's outfit. It's one of my all-time favorites. I forgot to say it last week. But yeah, I mean, Survivor 45, first of all, can you believe we're at Survivor 45? This can go to each of you, but Josh, especially you, because like Survivor 44 kind of felt like it was just yesterday.
I know. It hasn't been that much time at all. So when Survivor 45 came back, I had all these emotions that started back again, and then we got our torch and it was like, oh my gosh, I got so emotional seeing it all come back. And it's amazing watching now being a vet and knowing what's going on behind scenes and what's happening. It's just a whole new perspective on things. But it's fun being a fan again and not having all that anxiety watching it and seeing what they're going to do or being worried about how they're going to portray yourself. So this is a brand new world that I'm living for.
Yeah, it must be a really interesting experience knowing what you went through and now seeing other people go through their own journeys on the show. Phil, I want to turn it over to you. I mean, we're at episode 2. How do you think this season is going so far? I think it kind of started out with quite a bang with that. I still think about that opening intro. I mean, it's awesome.
I think that this season is off to a phenomenal start. Episode 1 and 2, I talked about it yesterday on Survivor Social. I feel like these 90-minute episodes are really paying off. We're getting a lot more from tribes. We actually get to know everybody. I think this is like the only episode 2 where we got a confessional from everyone. It's been fantastic. And I love just the more balanced edits. The fact that I actually feel like I know the contestants that I'm watching. It's been a very smooth, fun ride for sure. We're on episode 2. We're just getting started.
You're right. It feels like we're already like so far into it. I mean, Ollie, who are becoming your favorites?
Oh God, I mean Lulu. We have to love Lulu, regardless of how much of a struggle bus they are. But then there's other people, like other dynamics. Katara, I'm loving. I'm still always going to root for my drafts. Jane Maya, Emily. Yeah, there's so many people I'm rooting for, to be fair.
I want more of J. Maya.
Me too.
More, give me more, give me more.
I mean, Jay Maya had a really great moment in this episode. She identified that there was something on the tribe flag that was worth looking at. It's sad that she couldn't find the, like, I guess it was like the code decipher thing that Austin has, but it was so great just seeing her like pick up on the fact that, no, this is going to be something useful in the game. I'm not sure if anyone else on the other tribes realized it yet.
No one has seen anything, or the edit hasn't shown us seeing anything.
Well, Matthew, I'm pretty sure that on every tribe camp, things are a little bit different because the first step for Reba was to the decoder, but the first step for the Lulu idol was use your map. There's a hole in your map. So I actually think that Reba is the only tribe that has that cipher on their tribe flag.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's special. I mean, that really goes to show, I feel like with New Era Survivor 45, the game that was established by the game creators, I mean, it felt like they tried so much with Survivor 41 through 44 in terms of twists and advantages and just seeing what was going to work for the show and what wasn't going to work. And I feel like we're sort of finally approaching that time where the game has sort of grown into itself with New Era Survivor. Like, I love the candle thing. What did you all think about the immunity idol in the wax? That was awesome.
I enjoy that. It adds a little bit more of a layer to it than just finding an idol. I love how they're extending and giving it more. It's more work. It's kind of frustrating when you're out there, of course, because you just want to find an idol and be like, yes. So, but I love it as a viewer because it just gives drama. You know, that's awesome.
As a viewer, there was a moment I felt so bad for, obviously, Sabaya who found that, and then there was that thing of, actually, no, this is quite funny. I just felt like there was that moment of I feel really sad for you, but then also I'm like, you've got to earn this. Come on now.
And this is the first time in the new era no one has flint or fire. I mean, except is it Bello? Yeah, Bello tribe.
Right.
So that's scary. Not having fire. I was cold out there, so I needed fire. I need to be right next to it. So that's scary. Just watching it.
Yeah,
I think Reba has it too.
Yeah, Reba. Yeah, it was a secret scene where Reba was building their fire as well. There's so much content. It's so hard to see it all. I mean, truly. I don't think that wax idol could have been found on a better tribe. The fact that you see Sabaya get this sort of, wax thing with the idol encased in it, and she goes, "Oh my God, we still don't have fire. I have no use for this. This is damn near just a candle." I thought that was fantastic. I was literally on the floor laughing. Too funny.
I think that was the purest thing. Sorry to butt in. I just wanted to say that was the purest thing of she found this, and then the irony is she's on the one tribe that does not have fire. It's like, oh,
damn it.
You could not have written it better. It was perfect.
It's so sad. I know Randy on the recap episode, and again, check out Survivor Now podcast, Reality Now, I should say, has a bunch of Survivor 45 coverage starting from the day after the episode ends. Right after the episode ends, we do a recap. Then there's Survivor Social. Then there's Got Something For You. So make sure you subscribe to our channel to see all of the fun things that we have planned. But Randy mentioned, why didn't Sabaya just take the wax, the candle, to Tribal Council, just rest it near the fire and let it just melt out? Everyone besides Emily knew about her advantage. And this leads me to another question that I have. I was kind of expecting, I didn't want this to happen. I love Sabaya, but I feel like we would have seen in the past, players may have learned about Sabaya's advantage, learned about where the advantage was, knew that Sabaya did not have a vote. Was this a missed opportunity from the tribe to vote Sabaya out, knowing where the advantage was and how to get it? But that being said, it's a great testament to Sabaya's social strategy that she's already established.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Josh.
I think it's a little bit too early, to be thinking that way. I think for me, I would kind of want to establish that relationship. They're still trying to get to know each other, who they can trust and not. And everything with Emily and Hannah going down, I don't know if I would want to kind of do that. I would want to stick with Sabaya and kind of not want to undermine just yet.
Yeah,
but
I don't think
it's a strategy. Sorry.
No. I agree with you. I think that you're exactly right. It's way too early to go after Sabaya right now. I don't think that it was in the numbers, the cards. I don't think that anyone was really looking at her to be a potential vote. I mean, at the end of the day, it was, pretty clear cut between Brandon and Emily. And so for anyone to sort of come out of pocket and say, hey, how about that Sabaya over there? I think everyone realized that could have gotten you in more trouble than it was worth, right?
Mm-hmm. But obviously it's on everyone's radar. Everyone's thinking about it, but in the back of their mind for the future. Mm-hmm. I think Caleb's thinking about it. If he's talking to Emily and trying to just like get that little, I think it's, just the second, you always have to have a plan B, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's true. That's like one of the most interesting things about people losing their votes. But what do you think, Ollie?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I think in any other season, definitely people would have looked at it and been like, this is a chance just to get rid of an idol. But I think one of the main things that stopped it from happening was just how much of like a struggle Lulu has been physically. Like, I think if in any other season, if they had kind of a more well-balanced tribe and it wasn't a case of, oh my God, we're like a really weak tribe physically, I could have seen Caleb kind of eyeing up that move really early on. But I think with Brandon being not the most physically able, and I'm trying to say that in the nicest way, and kind of Emily's very abrupt kind of first 3 days, I think it was just Sabaya could have like cracked it open, swung it around and been like, try and get me, and everyone would have still been like, no, we'll go for these people first.
I mean, you brought up a good point,
Yeah.
Ollie. And I was just going to ask Josh, I mean, what did you, first of all, I agree. I think it was too early to get rid of Sabaya, but it was very interesting that there's a world where that could have happened. What do you think, how did you enjoy playing on a tribe of 6 versus a tribe of 9 or 10?
So bittersweet, to be honest. The bad part about it is, there's nowhere to hide. You're out there, everyone's watching you. Everyone kind of has their plan A, B, and C with other people. And because it's so small, it makes it a little bit harder. But in that same opposite token, it makes it easier because, there's nowhere to hide. So you kind of know you can still talk to some people. For me, I think obviously the whole tribe was against me and I completely missed that piece. So, it makes it hard. I would think I would rather be on a tribe of 10 or 20 because you can have other avenues. But when you're right kind of on blast and everyone sees what you're doing and what you're working with, that's why I was trying to lie and make myself seem like I was smaller than what I was because there's nowhere to go. So I think, you know what? I'd rather 10 or 20.
That's funny.
A tribe of 20, that would be an insane season.
Nice, right?
Yeah, lots of room for hiding at that point. And you actually brought up a really fun point that I also wanted to talk to you about. Was there anything from Survivor 44? Now we're far past when you filmed it. That you were there anything that you learned from your game?
Oh yeah, I would. If I went back in, first of all, I'm out for revenge. I'm out for blood. Villain who? Me. And
Yes.
So I've learned, I wouldn't lie. I would be completely authentic myself because I think I was trying to be someone I wasn't because I was in a tribe of 6, so I was a little bit smaller. So I would be completely authentic myself and see if that got me anywhere. I wanted to provide for my tribe, and I think I was by winning. We won the first 2. And I think after that, my lies just got the best of me. And if I was just authentic and was myself, I think I got farther.
One of my favorite moments, I have to bring it up since I finally get the chance to talk to you, is the fake immunity idol that I think it's like right up there with the stick for me. Like, I loved it so much. I'm so sorry it didn't work out for you, but it was, as a viewer, I just loved it.
Oh my gosh, that immunity idol. Oh my gosh. So first of all, I forgot I showed Carolyn that paper because, I think my neurons just stopped working after a certain amount of time. I wasn't eating enough, so I was forgetful. And then the immunity idol, I wish I would have took a little bit more time with because I didn't have enough time to kind of wrap what I wanted to do, and it just fell apart. And I was getting so pissed off because I could just see my game completely melting in his hands. I'm like, so I snatched it away and I'm like, I'm done. And I knew they knew it was fake. So I'm like, I'm leaving today. So when Jeff came out, I couldn't contain my excitement and be sad for Matt. They just all kind of blew up in my face at the same time. So I'm like, I'm so excited, but damn, that sucks. Matt's game's over. So yeah, It was a lot of emotions all at once. You didn't even see the half of it.
Oh my God. Any more you can tell us?
Well, first of all, when we got back from Tribal Council, when I was supposed to be blindsided and Sarah went out, me and Jam Jam had a whole, we were yelling at each other, like talk about rivalry. Everyone was yelling. Me, Carolyn, Jam Jam, because it was like no one knew what was going on really. And it was just all in our spaces and all of our emotions just came out at once. So we were just fighting like brawl. So they toned that down. They didn't make it seem as enticing, but it was a lot with just 3 people on the beach.
I mean, I think you brought up a really great segue just to get into our next section for the day, which are rivals. I mean, there have been some amazing rivalries on Survivor. We've seen all in the past, but like, let's start with you, Josh, you and Jam Jam. I mean, where did the rivalry kind of start between you two?
So I will say, as soon as I got to the beach, I wanted to work with Jam Jam, period. I wanted to work with him. But I think when they started unraveling my lie, that put a bad taste in their mouth immediately. And I kind of knew I was going into that place with them 3 and then against me. So I was, I knew I was going to be up. But I wanted to work with him. And I feel like when that lie happened, I couldn't after he told me all this stuff that we were voting for Carolyn, and it was a whole huge lie, and I wanted to work with him, so it hurt my feelings. So then I took it a little bit farther, and I got, I was emotional, so I felt hurt by it, and I took it onward to Merge Beach, and I should have dropped it and left it at Tika. And I think it was more so personal for me, and my emotions got the best of me at that point.
Ollie and Phil, for watching this season as a viewer, I can say, like, I really enjoyed seeing the relationship bit. Like, not only was it tumultuous at times between Josh and Jam Jam, but there was also like beauty to it. I think watching you both kind of put your past aside, you did remain rivals throughout the rest of your game, but there was those nice segments of you two connecting, especially after the tribal where you were supposed to be blindsided. So, I mean, as viewers, Phil and Ollie, like, what did you think?
Phil, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, seeing you're talking about Jam Jam and Josh specifically, yes? Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting because you really can't outwardly just despise someone on the island for too long because it goes against your own sort of self-interest, right? You have to have allies to get far in the game. And even if someone doesn't like you, you want them to not want to actively vote you out if you can help it. And so I think that that's sort of the game is you get these little tiffs and then you make up and it's all fun. None of it's real. You know that you don't really like this person deep down under, or at the very least, you don't want them in the game, but you have to put on the charade of, look, we're cool, we're friends, we're all in this together, right? And then, sort of get the wall down so that you can attack. That's what it's about. So it's actually not too surprising to me.
I've been working on my poker face, trying.
But I was also going to say, are we sure that Josh and Jam Jam were pretending to be all coy with each other during that season? Because I love Jam Jam, we love him, but you could tell, when you're watching the season, you could tell that Jam Jam was like, I love you as a human, Josh. As a player, no, bye-bye. I think that was kind of the parts that I enjoyed watching, kind of the rivalry there. It was, you guys were able to have such kind of human elements and kind of times, like talking about coming out and those experiences. And then kind of when it came to the game, it was like, okay, love you as a person. As a player, bye-bye. Like, those are the moments that I really do enjoy.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll play together or be against each other. We'll see. I don't know.
Now, I mean, I would love to see another season with you two on it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, let's go through. I mean, we have some amazing rivalries this season, too. Some of them one-sided, some of them not so one-sided. I mean, Ollie, do you want to start us off?
I mean, I'm going to start off with my favorite rivalry, because this episode, I feel like one of the key story arcs we kind of saw was rivals. And one of the kind of, I feel like one that we're going to kind of see really develop is Bruce and Katara. And it is more one-sided, but I think it's kind of, it's very valid. I'm not going to lie. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm very much team Katara on this. So sorry, Abraham. I know you love our Bruce. But I feel like she can kind of see what he's doing, and it's like, guys, stop being misted. Like, let's get the humidifier. Let's stop with the misting. Like, so I feel like that one's going to be really fun to watch, especially with the tribe dynamic, because I think Bruce has kind of clocked it, and then you kind of see Bruce and Jake on one side, Katara and oh my god, so many K's. Katara and Kendra on the other. And then you've got Kelly and Brando in the middle here. So it's going to be interesting what happens with that rivalry, because I feel like other people are going to decide who wins that one.
Yeah, I think Bruce is definitely using his charm and uncle vibes, which are hidden in father vibes, which he can't escape, to his advantage. I think he's trying, and he's trying to say, like, okay, I'm just this crazy guy. You don't target me. Look at me. You know, I'm just chill, but I'm having fun. But yeah, Katara is definitely clocking him left and right, her eyes.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I feel like it's going to last for a very long time, too. For one, I think that they're both going to be in the game for quite a while. I mean, I would be floored if anyone really goes to Tribal other than Lulu, unless there's like a swap or something. I hope that they can dig their way out. But I do think that the other tribes are going to have less of the burden of having to vote their own tribe members out. And so I hope this makes it to the merge, honestly. I want to see, in a weird way, I want to see a season 43 rivalry. Gabler going after, oh man, I don't know how that me. Yes, Ellie. That's right. I want to vote Ellie out because I put Ellie's name out there because I wanted Ellie's name out there. Beautiful. I want something just as simple as that, just moving towards the merge, two people that are just warring. I would love it.
See, I'm going to have to slightly disagree. Only like with the Lulu always going to Tribal, because I think the thing that Bello has going against them is there is a lot, like we saw at this episode, there is a fair bit of dysfunction. And it's going to be whether that dysfunction kind of integrates into the challenges. And if it integrates at the wrong time and does ruin their chances, I think they could have they could go to Tribal and it'd be very spicy. I
could see it.
I have to say, after we had the Emily redemption arc over these past 2 episodes, I get the feeling that Lulu isn't going to Tribal next week, or this week, I should say. That's my little take on it. I could be completely wrong, but I just feel like we're going to see another tribe show up in Tribal Council.
Which would be nice to get more into the tribe dynamic, because all we're doing is really seeing Lulu. I mean, the 90 minutes helps, but I want more of the drama. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Honestly, me too, which is why I loved that fake immunity idol on 44, Josh. Thank you for that. And, I love that we had Jay in the chat who said that if only 44 had 90-minute episodes, and I totally agree, especially Josh hearing everything that we missed from the edit. I do want to also just ask, we did the opening intro for the first time in so many years. I'm so sorry that you didn't get to experience that. Did you ever find a fan version that really spoke to you?
Yes, actually. Oh my God, I forget his name, but I love it so much. I'm going to come back to you, but yes, he made a brilliant one. And seeing it on screen for 45, it just kind of brought back chills. And, that desire from way back when they used to do it for all the episodes. My favorite personally was Africa with Ethan winning. I just loved that music, just how they did the whole thing. And it's just, if you've been a super fan, you've always wanted to be on those opening credits. It's always been a dream. So I'm glad they're bringing it back. It was awesome.
Yeah, I kind of echo that. The fact that we're finally getting to see the intro videos, it brings it back to Phil's favorite, the old school genre of Survivor. It just because it feels complete, and that's the only way I can describe it. Because when you watch Survivor, it's right, you've got the opening credits where everyone's looking really cool and ready to fight, and then you get into all the story arcs, and that's what I'm kind of feeling this season. Especially getting to know the people, getting all the backstories. It feels like very old school Survivor in the sense of we're we're learning who they are, not just as players, but as people, which I'm loving.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you'll sort of find nostalgia for, and these opening credits. The second that they came on screen, I got emotional. I was like, this is when I started watching Survivor. This is what I used to see at the start of every single episode. It's but I will say, what surprised me even more than getting emotional about the opening credits, I got very emotional about last time on Survivor. Are you joking? We're doing a recap of last episode? Let's go. I was so into that. And I don't know, I don't know if anyone was even clamoring for that, but I certainly, behind the scenes must have been, because I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what happened. I watched the episode 3 times and I still want to be told. I want to be told by Jeff. Please tell me what happened. So that was fantastic. I love it.
Speaking of things coming back, question: were you ever able to sit out twice in a row for competitions? Wasn't that a rule back in the day? Love you, Claire.
Because there was a reward challenge, and then that would usually be followed by immunity. So what I think happened was that people who played in the reward, if you sat out of the reward, you would have to play in the immunity, or maybe not vice versa. I forget when that resets. Yeah, I think that's it.
The rule is that you could, you play if you don't play in an immunity and then you play in a reward, you cannot play in the next immunity. So basically, someone can just be sitting out immunity after immunity after immunity. But I believe I think the new age rule is that you cannot sit out back-to-back immunities. So if you were out of one immunity challenge, you have to play the next. That's my understanding.
So I know pre kind of new era, it was, if you don't do the reward, if you sit out the reward, then you do the immunity, and then whoever sits out of that immunity then has to do the next challenge, regardless of whether it's immunity or reward. And then new school, it seemed like it got kind of oh my God, what's the word? It got reset after each tribal, because I think that was why we then see with 44. Carson knowing everything of the puzzles, and then also Claire just sitting out, being the sit-out queen she was. So I think that's where then it swapped for 45.
Okay. Basically, what we're saying is Claire and Carson will be on Game Changers too.
Period. Right?
It's only obvious. We have some more amazing rivalries from the show that we should touch upon. I mean, I don't know if anyone has seen Australian Survivor. Josh, I don't know. Are you a fan of Australian Survivor? Have you given it a shot?
I have, but I haven't seen it all the way through. I know these two have a very tumultuous relationship and have really good tribal scenes, but I haven't seen it all the way through, and I need to start it again to clean slate.
Perfect. I mean, just to give high level things, we won't go into spoilers at all, but this is Simon and George, if you aren't familiar. And in the middle there, you can see that there is a hat being burned. That is because Simon threw George's hat into the fire at one of the tribal councils. It's so amazing, this story arc, because it's one of the things that I love when Survivor is able to there's a narrative or a through line through the entire season. And I feel like the relationship between these two players was such a through line. And it kept me coming back for more, just to see who would get the upper hand. So I really love this rivalry. And it's also great knowing that even after the show has wrapped, that they have, at the time, at least I know, they posted photos together. They were all we're all everything is good. Yeah. It's nice knowing that, so there's no questions about it. But I mean, Phil, do you watch Australian Survivor at all?
I don't, Matthew, which is almost a little surprising, because I have definitely heard that it's fantastic. I've always wanted to. I'm a Survivor fiend. However, I haven't really got into it. No.
Okay, I apologize for bringing these two up, but I think it's important because it's a great rivalry. Ollie, how about you?
I've seen it. I watched this particular season. I watched Australian Survivor. Love it. I would highly recommend it, because you get, with just Australian Survivor in general, you get really intense gameplay, and learning about everyone. But the challenges, there's such a focus on challenges, which is really nice to see. But with this rivalry, Phil mentioned it earlier, and I think the best way to describe this rivalry is they're rivals, but then they know when they need to work together and have allies. And that's kind of what this kind of pair do. But yeah, kind of socially, they did not get along, and I was always here for it. And for good reason, because if anyone knows George, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if anyone knows George and that little menace, yeah. Simon is not the only rivalry he has. I'm just going to leave it at that. There is a list.
And I will say this, for someone who has never seen Australian Survivor, I know that about George, and I don't even know why or how, but I that is how George has been characterized in my skull here. I heard it through the grapevine.
Watch Australian Survivor and you'll learn. Love you, George. If I ever get on the show and then have to deal with him.
So you would work with him?
No.
You know what? George is very loyal to the people he is loyal with. It's just hard to determine, are you that person? So I think that's really interesting. Josh, would you ever do a global version of the game if they ever were like, we're doing global all-stars or something like that?
Absolutely. Oh my God, absolutely. It would be nice to go back to the 39-day format. And I know Australia goes, 49 days?
48.
48 days? Yes, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's quite the adventure. Okay, all right. You heard it here first, producers. Call Josh. Next, we have to talk about a pair that I think we're all very familiar with. So who wants to start us off with these two, Cass and Spencer?
I think we go for Phil, because this is Phil's one.
I did bring this one in. This is my favorite rivalry of all time. Everyone knows Cagayan is my favorite season of all time. That's where it all started. And it started off, I think it's so funny because, brother, I think this is one of my favorite rivalries because these are two very competent players that made it far in the game both times. Obviously, Cass a little bit less the second time, but they're both very competent players. I kind of mentioned this on Survivor Social. What I don't like are rivalries that feel like beatdowns. That's not fun to watch. It's almost a little uncomfortable to a certain extent. I brought up the Romeo and High of it all after Tribal that one time. It was actually very uncomfortable. I didn't like watching that because it felt like High had way too much power in the game. It was really stomping down on Romeo while he was already down. Didn't feel good to watch. These two are two very self-inflated individuals that were warring, and it felt very, very balanced and equal. And they're both very smart too, and I think that does come to play. Yeah, I love these two. It carried out over 2 seasons. It never dulled down, and it's fun to watch.
I couldn't agree more with you, Phil. And actually, this is funny because both of them, Cagayan, was also 3 tribes. So, Josh, do you ever go back and watch these seasons that were 3 tribes but were 39 days and find similarities to the strategies that you ended up having to utilize?
I have not gone back yet, but I need to for sure, especially this season for sure, because Emily's being compared to Chaos Cass left and right. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, yes, I remember Chaos Cass and their rivalry, but I need to go back and get the intricate details because it's interesting to see the new era versus the former era, how they did this stuff. So
it is also cool with the two of them and also the same with Simon and George, their arc, their story was a 2-season story arc. And not a lot of people can say that their relationship started in one and ended in another. And I think that's really, really, really cool. Ollie, you and I watched Survivor Cambodia Second Chances. How do you feel about how their story played out?
Their story was just is one that you always kind of similar to what you said, because it was a 2 kind of season story arc. It's just so fun to watch because there's it's almost that flip for anyone that hasn't seen it. There's almost this flip and kind of the full circle that you see happen at the end. Obviously, because we just recapped Survivor Second Chances, which is on the podcast if anyone wants to watch it. Just thought I'd pick that up for you. But yeah, it's fun to see the first season where they are clearly warring and there is rivalry. And then you see Second Chances where they're trying to get along and there's almost this civil kind of weird tension thing. And then it's no. And I think it was it was almost funny at the end when Cass kind of got to put a little nail in kind of the rivalry coffin, as per se, and that's all I'll leave it with, because I don't want to spoil anything.
I'm sure our viewers appreciate that. I think we should move on to our next one. Ollie, is this yours? We have Courtney and John Robert.
Yes.
Why do you like this rivalry?
Just because I love Courtney. Courtney's my favorite. No, but this rivalry was just so funny because there was no strategy. It was this kind of one. There was a lot of social elements to it, but it was kind of this thing of, you had Jean Robert, who was kind of the big macho, like, I'm king in this castle. And then you've got Courtney, who was unapologetically herself and was like, I'm going to push your buttons. I know how to push your buttons. And it was such a fun dynamic and kind of story arc to watch in China and see how it ended. But yeah, I just appreciated that, like, this big strong man, Jean Robert, had this issue with Courtney, and Courtney's there like, I'm just here vibing. Like, whatever your problem is, go away. So yeah, no, I just stand them, and anything Courtney Yates does, I'm always here for.
We never really understood why he was like that towards her, right? It was just kind of like she rubbed him the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, there could be reasons, but I want to respect all players at all. We've been nice.
Yeah. Look, there's a reason why they always cast Kevin Hart and The Rock together. Big person and little person on screen together is fun for our eyes. And for some reason, John Robert and Courtney Yates the rivalry was great to watch, because you have the biggest person on the tribe and the smallest person on the tribe warring. And it's sort of that thing that I was saying before too. I mean, Courtney is such a strong and powerful woman that she was not going to let John Robert step on her, despite the fact that he tried. And so I think that was so great, also because John Robert was kind of universally hated on the tribe, and they tried to keep him around because he brought strength. But at the end of the day, no one could really stand him. And I thought that it was really, really fun to watch. This is a great rivalry to bring in. Good stuff, Holly. This is fantastic.
I would also just like to clarify, you said that he was universally hated on the tribe. Not just the tribe. There was a lot more people, viewers, that were not a fan of him. But I think as well, you kind of just made me realize, because I watched China a few weeks ago, and I think when you see, because this was kind of the old school era, and you saw how society was back then, and I think it was really a joy to see kind of someone like Jean Robert, who kind of clearly had this kind of mentality of, I'm going in there as the best, and I'm going to be able to give my opinions, and everyone's just going to listen. And I love that they cast Courtney, who was going to sit there and be like, no, I'm breaking the mold. No. Yeah, I'm weak, but guess what? You're annoying. Have that. So yeah, love that.
I will say with this one in particular, like Phil, like you had mentioned before, there's some rivalries that feel just like kind of uncomfortable to watch. I would say that this one, especially looking back in 2023, has a lot of uncomfortable elements to it. I think what sort of like makes it so iconic is also, I won't give spoilers, but I would say the elimination order also has something to do with why you leave the season feeling like a little bit better about something like this. I mean, that's kind of important to also consider from like a narrative perspective of how you're telling the story of like a hero and a villain. I use those in quotes because like people are people and television is television. So it's definitely interesting. I mean, Courtney is such a legend in the game, so it's great to include her in this talk. Josh, I want to turn it over to you because I know you brought these two picks for us.
Yes. So Rob and Russell, I feel like for me, it's kind of like classic. There are a lot of rivalries I liked, but these kind of stuck out to me. Rob, from his season, he was kind of just like the Macho Man, the hero, if you will, with hero versus villain in them. And Russell was just like the little devil on the side that thought he could run everything. And I just kind of loved the dynamic, For Rob, it was more so loyal, and for Russell, it was like chaos. And then just seeing their dynamic just socially and strategically went out was kind of cool. Yeah, maybe. And then Sandra and Russell, Sandra's she's queen. Queen stays queen. And how the whole fedora incident, which I like how you played the fedora with them too before, just her talking about throwing it in, which I wish would have happened. But I don't know, just their classic dynamic was insane.
I think it's great because, I think it's interesting because all these years later, we do look at Rob as a hero. But let's remember the actual facts here. Rob was on the villain's tribe. This was a war between two villains, and I think that's what made it fun. They were both playing dirty. They were both really truly in it. They were also both very powerful. They held a lot of power. And so I feel like when you see two villains warring, there's something that is I don't know. It feels like they're both being especially cutthroat, and I loved it. Sandra is queen, so yeah, I mean that's all that needs to be said about that one. Queen stays queen.
I mean, Russell is the US version of George. I've just clocked it. He is the US version of George. But to quote Courtney, all he did in his seasons was just argue with people and then scurry around. That's all he did. So yeah, I love both of these rivalries because when we were doing the PowerPoint, the reason that I put both of them together was because when Josh brought it up, I kind of realized that this wasn't just kind of two different rivalries. It was almost kind of like Russell's rivalries throughout the season. Because you kind of saw that, once one rivalry died, another one occurred. Once another one died, another one popped up for him. So, yeah, Russell's the king of rivalries. Actually, I think I'm going to say that. If he has any legacy in Survivor, he is the king of rivalries, on and off screen.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there, Ollie. It's funny if you look back on those seasons. In modern day, the way that Russell treats his allies would be how 2023 players treat their rivals. I mean, he is truly just his confessionals. He would talk about his allies in such distasteful manners. I just think that yes, everyone is his rival, and they should be. He was a wild banshee out there.
Yeah, these are absolutely iconic rivalries of the show. I will say that was unintentional, the slide change. I was trying to see how many slides we had left. And that's actually a great reminder that if you're listening on Spotify, we do have visuals on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check it out on YouTube as well if you'd like to see more. Really quickly, we're going to hear from our friends at Bracketology. I don't know if you're a part of the Fantasy League for Survivor Now podcast, but there's some really cool prizes. So let's just hear from our friends at Bracketology.
My name is Jonah Fielko, and I'm the CEO of Bracketology.tv, fantasy sports for reality television. We offer fantasy games for shows like The Bachelor, Survivor, Big Brother, RuPaul's Drag Race, and counting. You start by creating a community. Within your community, you can create a fantasy league for each show that you want to play fantasy games for. Within the league, you can choose up to 3 of our 4 game types, and our most popular is the Advanced League. Choose a team of contestants, and depending on what they do and say during the episode, that's how your team will gain or lose points each week. We also have elimination-style games like our Confidence Pool. This is where you choose how confident you are that each contestant will survive elimination that week. And we've also got March Madness-style brackets. Come back a couple hours after the episode to check your scores and watch you climb the leaderboard. Bracketology is free to play, so grab your friends, your family, your coworkers, and head to Bracketology.tv for more info.
So that pretty much brings us to near the end of our video, but I did want to open it up as we were talking about rivalries. Any honorable mentions that did not appear here? And if you're in our live chat, feel free to comment as well. But any honorable mentions for any of you that we didn't talk about today?
Sue and Kelly, classic. Rat and snake, eat the rat.
I think we got to bring it in. Gabler and Ellie. That was a fantastic. That's probably one of my favorite new school rivalries. Obviously, Josh and Jam Jam are up there. But Gabler and Ellie, that was just fantastic. I loved it.
I mean, I have two. One is it was my original one that I was going to have on the slide, but it was just because Phil had mentioned a lot about Cass and I didn't want to jump it, but it was Cass and Morgan. I feel like that is such an underrated one because they were just warring the entire time. But also just because I'm currently watching Pearl Islands, and I know Josh will appreciate this one, Sandra and Fairplay.
That was a good one.
How that dynamic played out during Pearl Islands, I recommend watching it because currently watching it now, it is so funny to watch this dynamic play out. Like from a person standpoint and from a player standpoint, the gameplay it's a fun one.
Only other one I can add is Abby Maria and PG from Survivor Cambodia. The power of a misplaced bag and bracelet, I tell you. Well, Josh, this has been so much fun. I mean, thank you so much for joining us today. How can people find you on socials? Are you on socials?
No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm on social. So I have a professional one. It's Wilder DPM. And then the one I'm currently mostly on is a let's_get_Wilder.
Today's discussion has been so much fun. You're welcome on the podcast anytime. Phil and Ollie, any final thoughts?
I mean, look, I'm happy to be back for a second week. I'm looking forward to our next episode. I want to see Drew looks like he's in a giant hole digging, and it looks like he's getting caught. I brought it up yesterday, but this guy has had such a sort of confident and just a really inflated edit so far, and I kind of want to see a couple holes poked in there and see how he deals with it. I think he's going to do well, but I'm excited to see it.
See, Phil wants a couple of holes poked. I want the floodgates to open for it, but that's just my opinion. No, I'm excited to see not just how some of these rivalries we've seen this episode play out and continue, but I'm ready to see the potential of more rivalries because kind of what Phil said, what's happening there with Drew, and it seems like Dee's going to have a reaction to it. So I'm excited. I'm very excited.
I want to see more of Bella. I want to see more about Kelly and what she's going to do in her situation because I'm very intrigued about Kelly because she's so likable and she's on both sides. She's so likable that she's a swing vote. You know, she can go either way and she's so chameleon-like. So I want to see what she's going to do with what she got.
I agree. I have to say, I would love to see Bella go to tribal council just to see what would end up happening. So there's a lot to look forward to this next
more
week.
J Maya.
More J Maya.
More J Maya. You heard it here first.
1,000% agree. Let's see if we get any more J Maya in this week's episode. Next week, we'll have even more for you, and we will